Hi guys, and welcome back to another edition of Friday Facts. Today we're going to be talking about the best foods for your pets. This will be anything from your staple food for your pets, which will be like the lab blocks and the actual food you get from places like pet stores, but also I'm going to be covering things like the kinds of foods that you can buy from your grocery store for your pets and things that will just enhance their diet and make them the healthiest little rats you can have. And I'll also be covering things like what not to feed your pets because there are some things you shouldn't feed your pet rats. But keep in mind, please do your own research because not everyone's going to have the best information out there. Do research, look into what they study in lab rats, which I know is a touchy subject, but believe me, they're definitely looking for the best nutrition for their lab rats because they need them to be healthy for their testing. Also, just read. Look everywhere on the internet. Look at rat websites. Look at people who keep pet rats. Just look everywhere. Do your own research, please. Rats need lots and lots of good properties and nutrients in their diet. But there are some things that rats don't need in their diet. You really don't want to have them on a high protein diet. Protein is very, very, very hard on their little kidneys, and things like meat, things high in protein, soy things, especially sometimes, you want to try and keep away from that because protein is really not that great. So try and find something that has a pretty low protein content in the food. Another thing is fat. You want to keep the fat levels low for your pets because any diet high in fat can lead to cancer later on in their lives. So you want to try and give them treats sparingly that are high in sugar, things like candy, things like that. You just try and keep away from a high fat content, not only in their staple diet but also in their treats. One thing to remember is corn really isn't all that bad for your pet rats. I know there's a lot of research saying that corn really isn't great for especially dogs and cats when it's used as a filler in pet food, but for rats it's not quite as much of a problem because corn is a good grain for pet rats, and it's really not that bad. So just keep that in mind. I know there's a lot of rumors out there that it's bad, but it's really not as bad as people think that it is. The first major food that I want to talk about is my personal favorite. It's called Harlan Teklad. It was originally manufactured for laboratories that are doing testing on pet rats. And I know I was a psychology major in college, and there actually was a rat lab on my campus. And I do know that um, when you're feeding like a specific diet to a lab rat, it's important for the nutrients and stuff to be like absolutely perfect because it can cause erroneous information in your studies. So this was actually developed for that purpose. So it's actually a very, very good pet food. It can be a little bit difficult to get a hold of, but I'll have links in the down bar below of a couple different places that you can purchase this food. The three main formulas that are available for purchase for the general population is 8404, 2018, and 2014, and I'm going to go into detail about the differences between those three. 8404 is actually a soy-based formula. It's pretty good for your pets. The only downside is it really has a very, very high protein content, which again you should be a little bit wary of. The 8404 actually has a 24% protein level, which in my opinion is a little bit high. Some people might not believe so, but I've never used this on my rats. It also has a fairly high fat content. The fat content is so-so. It has a 4% fat content. Um, Not too bad, but still, I prefer a little bit lower for mine. The second kind or formula that Harlan Tech has is the 2018 formula. It has an 18% protein level, which is what the 18 stands for in 2018. Um, Still a little bit high for my comfort level, but it's good for nursing mothers or growing rats that are still young. It also has a little bit higher of a fat content, which might be useful again with nursing moms and babies that are still doing a little bit of growing or nursing. So it's still a useful formula, but it's one that I still haven't ever used for my own rats. But it's still not terrible. The last formula that Harlan Tech has is 2014, and this is what I currently feed my rats, and they've been on it for several years, several generations of rats that I've had. Um, it has the lowest content of protein of all the formulas at 14%. Again, that's what the 14 stands for in 2014. It also has a very low fat content of 3.5%, which also is very good for your rats because, again, high fat can lead to tumors and other problems later on in their life. In my opinion, this is probably one of the absolute best formulas out there on the market. And if you can get a hold of it, it's probably the best for your money, in my opinion. Again, some people have others that they believe are just as good. Um, so, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but in my opinion, it's probably the best out there. And again, I'll link below where you can find these. There are a few different places, and there's one place that I prefer because you can get it sold in different quantities. Where I get it, it can be, I think you can get it in like 5 pound bags, 10, 15, and you can get up to the full 33 pound bag. It's a little bit more expensive to get the giant bag, but if you have a lot of rats, it's probably your best for the amount of money you're going to spend. But I'll have more information in the link below, and also on my blog page, which I'll also link below, where there's more details about all the different formulas and different rat foods that I'm going to be talking about. So check that out down below. The next food I want to talk about is called Oxbow Regal Rat. It can be still a little bit difficult to get a hold of. My local pet shop has started carrying it, and I know there's some places online that you can purchase it. But it's also a very, very, very good food choice for your pets. Um, it has pretty low protein and fat content. I know back in the day they had a little bit of trouble with the formula as far as taste. A lot of rats weren't eating it and they were losing weight because of it. But it's my understanding that they have improved the formula, and the bag that I seen at my local store the other day actually did say new improved formula, so I guess that's a good thing. I haven't tried the new formula for my rats yet. I think I'm going to, though, just because it's easier to get a hold of, and if I ever run out of my normal food, and I'll have a great backup option. But it actually has a 15% protein content, and it has a 4% fat content. So both of these are pretty much acceptable in my opinion as far as levels. It's can be a little bit expensive for how much you're spending per pound, but again, if you can get it, it's probably probably one of your best options if you don't want to purchase online. Especially, I know some people are a little bit wary about that. But it's a pretty good food option. So I mean, as long as your rats will eat it and will tolerate the taste, with the new formula, I think it's a really great option for you. The next food I want to talk about is called, sorry, I have to look, it's got a weird name. It's called Mazuri Rodent Breeder F6. I don't know what all that stands for, the F6 or any of that. I've never used this food on my own rats, but I've heard a lot of people on some of the forums I belong to that do use it and find it acceptable as a staple diet. Um, for price, it's actually got a really, really great price. You can actually get a 5 pound bag on one of the websites that I found that I'll link below. You can get a 50 pound bag for $25. That's a great, great, great price for the quantity that you're getting for your money. Um, it has a little bit higher levels of protein at 16%. Still not out of the comfort zone. I mean, it's still tolerable and still acceptable in my opinion. But I still like the 14% better personally, but it's doable. It also has a fat content of 6%, which is a little bit higher than I'm comfortable with, but if you pair it with some other good food choices in your pet's diet, I think 6% is acceptable enough. And it's good, I think, for older rats too, that maybe, losing a little bit of weight, so maybe that extra fat content would be good for them to keep a little weight on their little old bones. So, I think it's a pretty acceptable choice. Again, it'll be in the bottom bar where you can purchase this. I'll have links for you. So, yeah. The last big rat food that I want to talk about is actually going to be very surprising to you. It's actually a hamster food. I know that sounds crazy, but it actually is pretty good for your pet rats. Even though it's designed for hamsters, rats and hamsters have very similar dietary needs. So it's actually a pretty good choice for your pets if you can't get a hold of any of the other ones I've mentioned. It's actually called, let me check here because this is a weird name. Um, it's actually called Living World Extrusion Hamster Food. Um, I know it's crazy. Trust me, I would never have thought to put to feed my rats a hamster food, but it has very very good fat and protein levels that are acceptable. It actually has 15% protein and 3.5, right? Yeah, 3.5% fat. Sorry if I keep looking over here. I'm using my laptop as a reference. Um, those are very good levels actually for your pets. So if you can't get a hold of any of the previously mentioned foods, check that out because it's actually a pretty good choice for you. Um, I have links again in the down bar that will tell you where you can purchase this and all the other foods. So check it out. It's a pretty good choice. There's some other things you might want to consider adding to your pet's diet because they do need a little bit of a variety of food. While they can survive well on a staple diet, it's always a good choice to add some other things to their diet just for variation, and some fruits and vegetables and things like that can offer good nutrients and other helpful like healthy things that's good for their immune system and their coat and things like that. So I'm just gonna read off of a list that I have over here of different foods that you can add to their diet. So let's see, we have kale, flaxseed. Flaxseed you can just get at your local grocery store. Pretty much most grocery stores do carry it. It's usually already ground up and ready to go. Just sprinkle some of that on their food. Um, Nuts is a good choice to add, but I would steer clear of too many peanuts because they are very, very fattening. Um, but they're still a good source of low protein if you feed them, sparingly. But they are good for them. Bran cereal, pasta. Pasta can be cooked or uncooked. I like to give them the little spirally ones. I can't remember what they're called, but and some of them are tricolor too, like the orange and the green. Those are some good ones to add to your rat's diet. They love it, but it's really noisy when they eat. So fair warning, it kind of sounds like rain. Um, Quinoa you can add to their diet as well as if you're gonna add like oats, I would add rolled or steel cut oats. Don't give them like instant oatmeal or things like that. There's a lot of extra junk in there and preservatives that they don't need. So try and look for the steel cut oats or the raw oats. Um, some good fruits and vegetables that you can add to your rat's diet are bananas, cranberries. That's great for urinary health, just like it is in humans. Blueberries are great antioxidants, good for their immune system. Strawberries, garlic. Sounds gross, I know. Um, Pomegranate is another good one with antioxidants you can throw in there for them. Kale, as I mentioned before, and pretty much any fruit and vegetable that you come across, you can give them. Uh, just a good diet for them. And I throw in some blueberries or some like blackberries every now and then for them. Trust me, they'll love you for adding a little bit something special to their diet. Because just like people, I'm sure they want something a little different every now and then. Um, but along those lines, there's also things you should not feed your pet rats. Some things just aren't good for them at all. The biggest one would be seeds. Don't give your rats any kind of fruit seeds. Obviously, like bananas have them little seeds in them, and they're fine. But don't give them like apple seeds or like the big peach thing in the middle of the peach, the pit. Don't give them anything like that. That's not good for them at all. Um, Try to steer clear of anything like with carbonation, like pop and stuff like that, or soda or wherever you're from, whatever you want to call it. They can't burp. I know that sounds crazy, but they can't, and it's really, really bad for their internal, digestion. Um, so steer clear of anything carbonated. What else? Sugar. I know everybody's guilty of giving their rats like a little piece of candy or a little something, but try to keep that very, very rare. Again, like I mentioned earlier, sugar is not really, really that great for them. It can promote like cancerous type things in them, and if you already have a rat that has like tumors and things like that, the sugar can actually feed that tumor. So you want to try and steer clear of that and just keep it as a very, very special treat for them. I've used it to train them to come to me, but they know that they don't get it very often, so they're really, really excited to come and get it whenever I shake the little container that I keep it in. So that's probably one of the only times they ever get it. Maybe once a week they'll get like one little Hershey Kiss, not Hershey Kiss, but the little morsels that you buy at the store for baking. They might get like one of those a week, so they know it's a very special treat. um, Caffeine. You want to steer clear of anything with caffeine. Things like dark teas, again, soda or pop or whatever. You want to steer clear of anything like that. Caffeine just really isn't that good for them. Uh, just try and steer clear of it. Trust me. Um, Peanut butter. Now I know I mentioned peanuts and nuts and stuff like that, and it's not so much the peanut butter, so to speak, that's bad for them, but they can actually choke because it's thick. So if you do want to give your rats that as a treat, I would suggest maybe like thinning it down a little bit with like some water or something. I never actually give my rats this, so I don't see the purpose. But I mean, you can just be very careful and make sure they don't choke on it. It's not too thick. Um, Bread, soft bread. You want to try and avoid any kind of soft bread again because it's something they can choke on. If you really are just bent on giving them some kind of bread, toast it first so it's a little bit more crunchy and they're less likely to like choke on it as they're trying to swallow it. Let's see what else. Protein. Again, through this whole video I've talked about protein. You really want to steer clear of giving them meat, any other kind of high protein food. Protein really isn't that good for them. Um, I'm guilty of giving them like a chicken bone maybe a couple times a year just as a special treat for them to chew on. But if you're going to do that, try and get all the meat off the bone or as much as you can. Don't give them anything that's too greasy, like a chicken bone, like fried chicken bone. I wouldn't suggest that. Maybe if it's baked. To conclude this video, though, I want to let you know this is not conclusive. This is not all the food that's out there available. Definitely, like I said, do your research. Look for the best food that you think would suit your rats. Just research, research, research. It's so important when you have a new pet or a pet that you've already had that you just want to make them healthier. This isn't a comprehensive list of what you can or can't give your rat. It's not the comprehensive list of the food available. Just look around and do your own research. Find out what's best in your opinion. I will link my blog below where I have a more comprehensive list of like the ingredients and more information about each of the foods I mentioned. So check that out because it does have a little bit more information. If I would have included that in this video, it would be like 5 hours long. So check that out and look around the net. Look for other information on best food for your rats. Um, just research, please. That's the most important thing. Don't rely on one source of information. Don't rely on one little blog post like mine. Just look around all over the web. There's there's information everywhere. It's at your fingertips. So please, please research. So that concludes this week's Friday Facts. Next week, I think I might do like important things to have in your cage, like more information on water bottles, food bowls, food or with water bowls, you can put water in there, wheels, hammocks, things like that, places for your rats to sleep. So stay tuned next week for that information, and I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.